Hey there, welcome to LSAT Demon Daily. I'm Nathan Fox, one of the founders of lsatdemon.com and the weekly podcast Thinking LSAT. With me today is Josh Mansfield, a teacher with the Demon. We've got a note here from another Demon tutor, Nate C. You want to read it?
Yeah. Nate also works on the Ask Button team.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing questions on the Demon, any account, free, basic, premium,
Mm-hmm.
live, you can use the Ask Button and get an answer. Always within 24 hours. I've seen it within minutes. Like some people move on to their next question and then have an answer by the time they finish the next question. So
He's about to, I might as well shout this out. He's about to start teaching his first class. He's going to have a class on Thursday mornings.
Nice.
Boy, it's early. Well, it's 10:15 Eastern, 7:15 for us out here on the West Coast. It's called Enter the Matrix with Nate C. It says,
Good
take
for
the
Nate.
blue pill and discover the reality of LSAT logic. They're getting artsy with those class descriptions. Anyway, yeah. So what does Nate think we need to emphasize?
So Nate says he's seen a recent uptick in students on the Ask Button who are concerned about strengthen or sufficient assumption answer choices that prove more than the conclusion needs.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's misguided. That's significantly misguided.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, look, what's the question asking you to do?
Mm-hmm.
On a strengthen question, it says, which one of the following, if true, would most support the argument above? Which one, if true, would most support that argument? So if I needed an answer that weighed, 50 pounds, well, 500 pounds will do. There's no reason why it can't be too strong.
Yep.
Or I should say, it literally can't be too strong. If you're looking to strengthen the argument as much as you possibly can, then might as well just win 100-0.
Yes. Yeah. It's the way that I describe it is that the answer choice, you get to add the answer choice to the record of the passage.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were an attorney, because, that's what we're taking this test for. If you were an attorney, which witness statement would you want?
Mm-hmm.
And I want the one that's like, oh yeah, like it covers 500 pounds every time. Like, great. Yeah. 50 pounds shouldn't be a problem then. I'm much more concerned about the one that says sometimes does 50 pounds.
Yeah, something like, so say we could just use this weight example. Say that you've got like an elevator and an elevator collapsed in a hotel.
Yep.
And they're trying to sue the hotel, the elevator operator. We're back in the old timey times when there was an elevator operator, right?
Yep.
And they're going to sue the elevator operator for negligence because he allowed Mr. Johnson to step onto the elevator when he knew that the elevator was already close to its capacity.
Mm-hmm.
The capacity of the elevator is 500 pounds, and the passengers already on the elevator weighed 300 pounds. And this elevator operator was negligent, letting Mr. Johnson step onto the elevator, thereby exceeding the maximum capacity of the elevator. Well, how much does Mr. Johnson weigh? The missing piece of that argument, right? We never said what Mr. Johnson weighs. If Mr. Johnson is rail thin and weighs 87 pounds, then your argument makes no sense. But if Mr. Johnson weighs 900 pounds, now your argument makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So, yes, 200 pounds is like the exact perfect number where we get to the 500 pound capacity, or 201 pounds gets us to 501 pounds. Now it's over capacity. But that doesn't mean that 300 pounds or 400 pounds doesn't help that case even more.
we talk a lot about predictions, and I think what can happen here sometimes is students see that and they are, we've got smart students and they recognize, they go, oh, it's 200 pounds. Like Mr. Johnson must have weighed 200 pounds. But they're so fixated on that number
Yeah.
that they struggle to see the other, like that it can be more than that. And so instead you
Or it could
say,
even be something different. It could be like Mr. Johnson was holding his 300-pound uh, Great Dane on a leash.
I was really excited to hear what the 300-pound thing was going to be.
Pet alligator. Yeah, and like people will look at that and they'll go, "Oh, but that's out of scope."
Yeah. Oh,
But that they
hate
never
that
talked
phrase.
about a pet alligator. Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
but it says which one, if true, would most support this
Mhm.
argument. And if dude did have some huge, obvious, heavy beast on a leash, and he wanted to take that into the elevator, then yeah, that now makes this elevator operator look more guilty
Yeah.
for knowingly letting this dude overload the elevator.
Well, and it's so funny because you talk about it in the LSAT context, and it's so easy for people to just read the LSAT and be like, oh yeah, Mr. Johnson, around 200 pounds. Oh well, the alligator, Mr. Johnson wasn't. Mr. Johnson was only 150 pounds. It doesn't prove that Mr. Johnson was 200 pounds, so it can't be it. And then
Yeah.
it's like, stop and think. You are an elevator operator. An alligator walks on that is clearly too heavy, and you went up anyway.
Yeah.
Like, of course, that's going to be the problem for negligence.
Yeah. And you would never say that answer is wrong because it's too strong. Same with sufficient assumption, by the way. Sufficient assumption questions are asking you to prove the conclusion of the argument. And it's actually quite frequent that the correct answer on a sufficient assumption question will be like way overly strong. So something like all humans are over 200 pounds.
Yeah.
And sometimes,
oh, yeah, there you go.
Students might be like, wait, what? No, all humans aren't over 200 pounds. Well, that's fine. But it said which one of the following, if true, would allow the conclusion to be properly drawn. If it were true that all humans were over 200 pounds, then Mr. Johnson is over 200 pounds. And that gets you there. So, yeah, on strengthened questions and sufficient assumption questions, and on weakened questions, by the way, or paradox questions, answers are never wrong because they're too much. Because it always says in the question, which one, if true. So you don't fight with the answer. Nobody's asking you to prove that answer choice. They're asking you to accept the truth of that answer choice and then think through whether it does what needs doing in the question.
Yeah. Great. I love that example of the all humans. I think it's a perfect illustration of Nate's point.
It could say all beings to be even stronger. Right. It could say everything to be even stronger than that. Everything is more than 200 pounds. Well, okay, fine. I mean, that's obviously not true in real life, but that's not the point. The point is, if this were true, would it win our case?
Yes. I think that's, students get really obsessed. It's so funny. Students get really obsessed with question types and like, oh, a necessary assumption must have weak language in the answer choice.
Yeah.
Right. And they look for gimmicks. They analyze question types for gimmicks. I don't want gimmicks, but I do want you to recognize a closed question type is based on the record of the passage. An open question type gives you permission to add new information.
And the difference between open and closed, I mean, that's just how we talk about it at lsatdemon, but it's basically the difference between must be true or strengthen, where on a must be true question, they're asking you to describe what's already there. And there, answers can be wrong for being more than what the facts actually said. But on a strengthened question, it always says which one, if true, or maybe they say which one would, something like that. But it means
if presumed,
and so in those types of questions, it's the exact opposite of a must be true question. Most students, I think, or many students would do better if they never even thought about answer choice strength and just like focused on answering the question.
Yep.
But there's levels to it. There's like the very naive student comes in with like, I'm going to dismiss any answer that's out of scope. And that actually might help you on a must be true, but then it's going to hurt you on a strengthen question.
Yeah.
A little higher is, people start to think about answer choice strength, and then they might even understand that, like, okay, so for a must be true question, they generally tend to prefer weak answers.
Mm-hmm.
And on a strengthen question, they generally tend to prefer strong answers. But then they take that to mean on a must be true, I'm just going to pick the weakest answer, or on a strengthen question, I'm just going to pick the strongest answer. No, you still don't get it. What it can do is it can make you appropriately skeptical of wrong answers. When you're reading a must be true question and you see an answer that says every or all or something like that, that doesn't mean it's wrong, but it prompts the question, okay, do the facts actually justify every
red flag
all?
Pops up, and it's like, gotta check that.
And on a strengthen question or weaken or sufficient assumption, if you see an answer that says sometimes, well, okay, is that really going to get you there? Or some, well, if some X are Y, it doesn't sound very good for a strengthen or weaken or any open record question. But that doesn't mean it's wrong, because maybe the language in the argument to get you where you needed to go didn't actually need something strong. All it needed was one time. Maybe sometimes some is enough to prove the conclusion. Yeah. So answer choice strength is a secondary concern at best. And again, I think most people probably should just not even think about it at all. Because look at this, the question that Nate is prompting here is people just dismissing answers because they seem strong on question types that actually love strong answers.
I think every student would be more benefited, rather than thinking of these gimmicks or strengths, thinking instead about what is the question actually asking. And one tip I give students to that, when it says which of the following, if true, most strengthens the argument, replace the word argument and say what that argument is. Which of the following, if true, best proves that Mr. Johnson was or that Mr. Johnson getting on the elevator resulted in an increase of more than 200 pounds. Or that the elevator had more than its weight capacity.
Answer the question.
If you just understand what the question is saying,
yes,
you can get it right.
Hey,
you don't need any of this thought.
Just earlier today, we recorded a Demon Daily episode where Callie was talking about getting a 172 diagnostic. Callie didn't know anything about question types. She didn't know anything about strong answers versus weak answers. She was just reading carefully and answering the questions. Callie actually went backward after a little bit of LSAT prep. Very likely because she started obsessing about question types and obsessing about strong answers versus weak answers. Get out of your own way and just answer the questions that are on the page.
Thanks for sharing this, Nate. Appreciate it. Best of luck with your class. Make sure to check that out.
Yeah, good luck,
And then
Nate.
if you have any questions, you can email daily@lsatdemon.com and ask us a question or share some LSAT or law school admissions news. Thanks for listening.